In this video, I'm going to go over my highlights from the Unite 2019 Copenhagen Keynote. There's lots of awesome news on dots, 2D, AR, and more. Let's begin! So I just got back from the Unite and it was an excellent experience. Tons of great talks on just about every topic and booths filled with awesome people doing cool stuff. All the Unity people were really nice and Copenhagen is a beautiful city. I also met a bunch of other Unity YouTubers for the first time and we had a ton of fun. So it was a really action-packed week. Again, it's a great event and if you haven't been, I definitely encourage you to go someday. Now let's check out the keynote highlights. So for me, I have to start with dots. I love performance, so naturally I adore dots. So far, the main comments against dots in ECS that I've seen in my videos are mostly to do with the amount of code that you need to write to do something simple. Well, thankfully, it seems Unity is tackling that problem head on. Starting with 2019.3, there are two things that greatly reduce the amount of code. One of the things is actually something I haven't covered yet but is on my list, which is the conversion workflow. Previously, you would need to override a function to implement the dots components that match up with the mono behaviors you added to an object. Now you can simply use an attribute if you don't need any custom logic. So that helps cut down quite a nice chunk of boilerplate code. The most awesome thing is you no longer need to define a job struct for simple jobs. You can just do an entities for each and it will automatically create and complete the job all while using burst. This is a massive awesome change since previously the way I would do things was I would always start by making a normal component system, I would get all the logic working and only then I would convert the component system into a job system. Now with this change I no longer need those two steps, just do an entities for each and your code is automatically benefiting from multiple threads and burst for very easy insane performance. So you go from this to this, which is much more condensed, faster to write and easier to understand. Also, on the roadmap talk, it was announced that the dots core stack, which is ECS, the job system and burst, will all be out of preview and production ready in 2020.1. And again, everything is still available as a package, including the source code, so you can inspect it to see how it works, and if you have an issue, you can follow along with the stack trace. Now Unity has pretty much decided on what they think should be the correct dots workflow. They want people to continue using game objects like they've always done, and then in runtime, it all gets converted into super fast entities. To achieve that in an easy manner, there is now in 2019.3 a simple box you can tick to convert a game object into an entity. If your object requires specific logic in order to achieve conversion, you can still make your own conversion script. When you run the game, the object will be converted into an entity, and by selecting that object and looking in the inspector, you can see the various ECS components that were added to the entity and the values that they currently contain. So it's now very easy to visually see a specific entity and see the ECS internals. All of this makes it very easy to work with game objects like you've always done, but benefit from the massive performance during runtime. There is a new complete third-person shooter which is built completely using dots and contains a ton of features. It has animation, physics, multiplayer, audio, live link, and more. I think it's the first project that is completely 100% done using dots. So I'm really looking forward to this one and picking it apart. I've seen some talks on how the multiplayer works and it seems really interesting. Speaking of live link, that was something they showcased some more. Essentially you can have a build running and the editor still open. Then you can easily make changes in the editor and see them change instantly in the build. The build can also be running anywhere, like on another PC or console or mobile. So this is going to be an awesome tool for quickly iterating on things like level design and general testing to find the perfect values that make your game great. It's also great for iterating on performance for specific parts of your level. So for example, if a specific area is running slow, you can very easily remove things and watch how the build player performs. Multiplayer was mentioned in the third-person shooter demo, and like all the other features, should be coming out in 2019.3. I'm really looking forward to playing around with the normal implementation as well as just using the transport package directly. They also highlighted the various extra features that are also coming, like the dedicated service and matchmaking, and also voice communication. Again, all of this should be implemented in the third-person shooter, which we'll be able to inspect and see exactly how it's implemented. AR continues to be supported and improved. This is another area I'd love to play around with. Being able to build your project once and have it run anywhere is an excellent feature and one of the main reasons why Unity has been so successful, so it's great to see that apply to AR. You can also now include the library in native apps, which sounds like an excellent way to add AR features to an already built native app. They also showed someone driving a Volvo wearing AR glasses. No idea if that's meant to be something real or just a weird demo, but it looked quite funny. And this is just an example of Unity expanding into different areas. There were lots of automotive-focused features and booths present at the show. Another area Unity is expanding into is for architects and construction. They showed the demo where you edit the building specs and the 3D model automatically refreshes. And you can also use AR to visually see your building on the floor. Again, not really relevant to game developers, but it's awesome how Unity has so many different use cases and they continue expanding more and more. Then there's the scriptable render pipeline, VFX graph and shader graph, which are all becoming production ready, so you can safely use them in whatever game you're working on. Also, in case you don't know, the lightweight render pipeline has been renamed into the universal render pipeline. So now you have the universal and the high definition. Lots of focus on awesome 2D features. For me, I really like 2D, which for quite a while felt like it wasn't really getting much attention since all the features were 3D focused. However, in these past few years, things have really changed and now there's tons of awesome features already done and more coming. They showed a gorgeous demo using the universal render pipeline, which now has a 2D specific render. You can see glowing particles, dynamic shadows, a day-night cycle by easily moving a slider, 2D lights with easily modifiable gizmos, reflections on the water using a shader made in shader graph, sprite shade for easily placing curves, bone-based animations with the option to easily swap out sprites. The whole demo looks absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, a ton of 2D features to help you easily create awesome 2D games. I'm really looking forward to playing around with all of these features in the future. Continuing the story from the previous Unite, we saw the Heretic Part 2. As always, Unity cinematics are just gorgeous and insanely high quality. We've gotten used to it, so it really makes you almost forget just how impressive they really are. I mean, they're running this cinematic with this insane quality on a normal rig running at 30 frames per second. Just 10 years ago, you would need a server farm and spend several hours to render a single frame with this level of fidelity. So that really puts it into perspective just how impressive all of this tech is. And more than that, there's really nothing special hidden. They're using the shader graph, cinemachine, lighting, animation, and more. All of the things you see are made using the exact same tools that all of us have access to. So it's really great to see just how far you can push the engine. And hey, apparently the beard is using the C# job system to update the position of every hair in runtime. Then they showed something called Unity Simulation and Game Tune. These seem to be powered by machine learning and the cloud to help you test your games thousands of times in a short number of hours. The concept seems excellent, but I'm not very clear on how the implementation works. So does it just push buttons randomly until it encounters a win condition? Or do you need to train it to play properly? If so, how complex is the training procedure? So not too clear on the specifics, but definitely interested in what they're trying to do. So that's the keynote, and it had a lot of great stuff that are already available and even more to look forward to in the future. Dots continues to be awesome, and I look forward to playing around with these new features when they come out in 2019.3. It seems Unity is simultaneously building up its core features while also branching out to completely different applications like automotive and building. And for you as someone who is learning Unity, all of this should make you feel really good about your future prospects. The more Unity grows both inside and outside of game development, the more job options there are. The future is looking bright, and I look forward to doing my research so I can do videos on these exciting features, so stay tuned. Alright, see you next time!